Again.
Belly our Admiral Bailey trick no way.
You see yourself following him down the Christian walk.
And when them tell me say, God call him, yes I when. BT pew.
I want to, man.
Come on the party.
The Cut, brought to you by Flow.
So, I'm sure you took her to doctor, and what did he say?
He said that she had a hole in her heart. She's a blue baby.
I thought I would find my papa, but I didn't. I found Uncle Jungly instead.
I will divorce her. It's what you want.
Ganga.
Brought to you by
Hyundai or Hyundai.
This is CVM News at noon for Thursday, May 22, 2025. I am Ronaldo Adams. Thank you so much for joining us. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says Jamaica is on the brink of eliminating absolute poverty, pointing to a historic low in the poverty rate as proof that the government's targeted social and economic policies are working. He credited minimum wage increases, expanded employment and training opportunities, and social safety net programs as major contributors to the decline.
At 8%, we are within striking distance of that. We can end absolute poverty. But of course, once you reach to that point, you're going to set a different threshold, a much higher threshold. So you're in a different level now. And that's the idea. So we want to ensure that we push this poverty prevalence number way down, and then at that point we can revise what's the new threshold for somebody to be considered living at or below the poverty line. So it's quite doable. It is within our capabilities to do it, but we must continue with the strategic policies. We must continue the training of our young people, so that they can continue to work and earn from their labor and talent.
And with a general election due by September, Holness says there is no guarantee that these gains will translate into electoral success. He's urging citizens to look beyond the skepticism and recognize the country's ongoing transformation.
There is a very high level of cynicism, of disbelief, even when the number is presented to the average person. The notion is don't trust what government tell you, even when it is presented. And this is not just with the statistics for the reduction in poverty. Murders are down 40-odd%. But if you were to ask people, what do you think about crime? They will tell you crime is high. Ask them another question. Have you experienced crime? They will tell you no. So, which is what we have picked up in surveys over and over again. So,
Minister of Local Government and Community Development, Desmond McKenzie, visited the Buff Bay Farmers Market in Portland to witness the progress of its ongoing renovation. The updated Buff Bay Market is scheduled to be officially open to the public in June 2025.
This Buff Bay Market is going to be the market that we are going to be using right across the island. We're going to be using this as the new dispensation for markets. If you notice, it's high, the ventilation is good, it gives you natural lighting. This Buff Bay Market has been sitting here for more than 20 years in a state of disrepair. And a commitment was made by this administration, and we have responded to the concerns of the vendors and the residents of Buff Bay.
Minister Mackenzie wants to put a stop to put an end to the illegal use of community water as a commodity. He will soon have the authorities catch up with individuals who are using water from community standpipes to supply their car washes and those storing the water in tanks and selling it. Here are the details.
Standpipes are supposed to strictly provide potable water to communities plagued with water scarcity, but some residents are using the water to supply their car washes. Despite being a public commodity, some residents collect water from the standpipes and sell it to other community members.
But one of the things that we notice is that in some communities, they're not using the standpipe for the purpose of giving water to the communities. They either use it to run car wash business, or you have people who drive up on the standpipe and load up them bucket and drum and then carry it to sell it.
Minister of Local Government and Community Development Desmond Mackenzie is against this conduct and pledges to clamp down on perpetrators. An assessment will be completed for all standpipes soon. This will allow the authorities to take proactive steps to tackle the illegal use of water.
Well, we are now doing an audit of all standpipes across the island. And once we have completed those audits, the local authorities will be put in a position to take the necessary steps to reduce the waste that is being generated by those who are using the water and using the water illegally.
Illicit water usage has been an ongoing problem, one the ministry has tried to tackle. In 2017, the ministry owed $800 million to the National Water Commission for water supplied through community standpipes. Minister Mackenzie revealed that the water was being commercialized. Some residents were reportedly filling up water tanks and selling the commodity. Some used it to supply their businesses, such as car washes and cook shops. A report by the Jamaica Information Service in February revealed that the rural water supply budget has been increased by $6 billion to ensure Jamaicans have improved water access. The government has spent $15 billion on water infrastructure so far. Angela Melville, CVM News.
Former opposition leader and veteran politician Dr. Peter Phillips has expressed satisfaction with the country's ability to maintain stable economic indicators. However, he emphasized that more must be done for the nation to truly reach its full potential.
I am pleased that fiscal prudence in terms of just maintaining macroeconomic targets and steadily moving the debt down has continued. And I think that that's a plus that the country as a whole can feel proud about, and that it has carried across administrations is a plus. We have not managed to get the growth part right. And if we don't get the growth part right, then quite frankly, we're going to drop the ball because we will have failed the aspirations of the Jamaican people to get a better quality of life. And you know, I don't think we need to be satisfied with 1% and 2%. In fact, that's going to just leave us at the bottom of the pile in the region, not to mention the bottom of the pile with high-performing countries in not only the Latin America, Caribbean, but elsewhere in the developing world. You know, you need 5% growth, and we can do it.
Yes.
Stay with us for our live discussion after this break.
Power in great moments since 1992. Oh, we have it all. Power in great moments. Relax, you got Chris and Charles. Oh, we have it all. When you think alone, think Chris and Charles.
Get tiles and get creative with your floors, walls, and all the spaces in between. Our knowledgeable sales consultants are happy to help create your beautiful finish with the latest designs in first quality porcelain, wood look, vinyl, mosaics, natural stones, and countertops. At Creative, you will get every tile you need for your residential or commercial projects. Creative Building Finishes, your one-stop shop for everything tiles. Visit our showroom at 5 Red Hills Road or call 876-929-5553. Get tiles, get creative.
Welcome back. It's now time for our discussion segment. In the Jamaica Survey of Living Conditions, JSLC, for 2020-2021, carried out by the Statistical Institute of Jamaica, Statin, poverty prevalence has declined from 16.7% to 8.2%. What have been the factors influencing this, and how accurate is it? Helping us to flesh things out are development economists Dr. Christopher Stokes and Sandra Roden. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having me.
Excellent. So, to kick things off, what does the term poverty prevalence refers to in economics, Dr. Stokes?
Well, there are certain minimum standards that varies from country to country. Jamaica measures theirs based on the National Survey of Living Standards, which is normally done once a year, which is basically goes through and says, you know, are you able to support yourself to a certain minimum level? It includes shelter, nutritional support is very important, the number of calories that you're able to consume, and a whole set of measures in response to a questionnaire that will determine whether or not you are above or below, you know, what is established as the poverty line. That has changed. It was in recent years it was changed so that the data from 2012 to now is using the same calculation. Before that, it was using a different calculation, but it is coming out of the Survey of Living Standards to say, you know, what is the quality of your life in Jamaica, and that's what it does.
Sandra, do you have a differing definition?
It's practically the same. It looks at the necessities based on what the needs are, the food and non-food necessities in essence. And when you look at those things, look at what the base is and how it impacts in general the population. So similar to what Dr. Stokes would have articulated.
And sticking with you, Sandra, do you find the results represented accurately to include all demographics? And what would influence this major decline?
Well, a lot of things you can look at in our economy that would influence the decline. We see that the economic indicators have been moving positively. We see that our unemployment rate is at the lowest ever, which means more people are working, which therefore means we'd have seen a shift in our poverty rate overall. So when you look at what our goods and services are, the food, the non-food necessities, we do expect that more people would be able to afford them. So, there is that direct correlation. And generally, despite the fact that we do have inflationary concerns, we can see that our inflation is staying within the band that we would have targeted. So those factors, when they're amalgamated, we would expect to see some reduction in our poverty rate.
Dr. Stokes, based on the findings, the results are from 2023, while the results for 2024 will be made available later this year, right? So where do you see the results moving, and what do you believe will contribute to that result?
Well, I think that the basic factors that would have driven the 2023 result, increasing the minimum wage, the employment level, which has gone down quite a bit, has gone down since 2023, and the government's social intervention programs, which have increased over time. I do expect to see, and plus, let me also add, a reduction in inflation during that period of time. Just the last quarter, I think they went down by another point, but 1.2% or something like that. So I do expect that trajectory to continue of reduced poverty. The key question, of course, is, as you know, in a previous section, the million-dollar question is what about growth? You know,
all right, Dr. Stokes,
getting a reduction in poverty without...
Dr. Stokes, sorry to interject, but we must take a quick break right now, and we'll be right back for our discussion segment. We'll be right back on CVM TV.
The Time is brought to you by Ford Territory.
Thank you for staying with us. We're in our discussion segment right here on CVM News at Noon. We're joined by Dr. Christopher Stokes and Sandre Roden. Dr. Stokes, you can pick up from where we left off.
Growth remains a problem. Sorry, I've got a little cough thing here. Growth remains a problem. And I think that there's a limit to how we can reduce poverty through government intervention, minimum wage, social intervention programs. And I think the real way to not only reduce poverty, but increase living standards is through economic growth. And that, to me, remains the big challenge.
Sandre, same question to you. These results are from 2023. What do you see the trajectory playing out?
Yeah, I'm in total agreement with Dr. Stokes on this as it relates to further reductions in our poverty level. We also saw in the sweeping announcements in our recent budget debate saying that there would be, further improvements as it relates to increases in minimum wage, which says that, of course, more people will be affording more. We saw that there are some tax breaks on electricity, etc. And when you look at that in a widespread, you realize that, of course, we would see further decline in our poverty rates. I am going to piggyback on that point of Dr. Stokes talking about economic growth and where we need to see our country. We've been talking about 5% for a while. It is now time for the government to focus on industries wherein we can see growth-inducing industries. So we've done a lot of social programs. There has been, a lot of different talk about how we grow, but now it's time for us to actually grow. So the minute we grow, we can definitely see poverty going down, because Dr. Stokes said it, and I reiterate, it will only go down to a level, and then there will be no movement after that, because the government can influence with policy and with reductions so far, but then there has to be a stop, and then the economic growth will now pick up, and that will further reduce poverty in our country.
Sandre, was there anything else in yesterday's PIOJ briefing that caught your attention?
I think this was the major one. I think the PIOJ would have noted a number of things, like some industries that would have been performing, and that's something that we've seen. We've seen manufacturing, etc. performing, and that in and of itself would have been some things that we're looking at. We're looking at the different industries, the baskets that exist, and how that improvement would help us in a general way for not only reducing poverty, but how we can actually look at which particular industries we can use for economic growth purposes.
And the same question for you, Dr. Stokes. Was there anything else in yesterday's briefing that caught your attention?
Let me just say what is on the horizon briefly. The Director General mentioned remittances, half of the households receiving remittances, and that being a part of the explanation for a reduction in the levels of poverty. And this is at a time, I think 60-something% of our remittances come from the US. And as of last night, in the tax bill that the US passed, there was a 5% tax on remittances coming out of the US for non-citizens. We need to watch that. You know, one can hypothesize about the impact of that on remittances coming in, on our receipts. But I think it's something we need to be aware of, and it's a risk, and we need to monitor it and see how that may impact us, because, you know, remittances in total